The Monarchist League, I think actually this is a really important thing to say after some of the stuff that we've heard. The Monarchist League is not actually affiliated with any political party or any political persuasion per se. That is, of course, because the Crown is a truly identity-less object that can represent all people. We would have had the Honourable Michael Kirby here today, who is a man with Labour Party roots, and he's very supportive of the work that we do as a proud monarchist. But it is a little bit tricky to come by Labour politicians who are prepared to speak at our conference, and other politicians as well. So we're very grateful for the support of the Liberals that we have. That's because fundamentally, liberalism is monarchism. At least it was to Sir Robert Menzies, which is a conversation we're going to have now between two very eminent commentators. Nick Cater is a journalist, editor, and former executive director of the Menzies Research Centre, and he is joined to discuss, among other matters, the monarchism of Sir Robert Menzies and its relevance to Australian politics today by Nicolle Flint, who served as the member for Boothby from 2016 to 2022. Would you please make them very welcome?
Thank you, Alexandra, and thank you to the Australian Monarchist League for this event and for everything you've done for the last 30 odd years. I think, Philip, I should honour Philip. I always think of as the founding father of this organisation, and all the work you've done. It's so important. We've talked today about institutions, the importance of strong institutions. And the Australian Monarchist League is a strong institution that never takes its foot off the accelerator, even when it looks as if the Republicans have been knocked into the background. And that's important to always be, because if we don't continually affirm these values and talk about their importance, then they get forgotten. So I'm very fortunate today. First of all, apologies from James Matthias, who wanted to be here. He couldn't be here from Melbourne. He asked me to pass on his apologies. But Nicolle Flint is here from South Australia, former member for Boothby. The last election, people of Boothby, I don't know what got over them, but they didn't elect you, which was rather foolish of them. But anyway, I'm glad you're here, Nicolle. Perhaps you just start before we get into the topic. Just bring us up to date with where you're at, what you're doing now.
Oh gosh. Thank you, Nick. I am having a lovely time at home on our family farm, which is 300 kilometres southeast of Adelaide. We grow wool and prime lambs and some beautiful shorthorn beef as well. And I'm on Sky News having strong opinions and popping up in various newspapers in writing columns with more strong opinions from time to time. So I'm having a lot of fun roaming around in the wild, and nobody can control me because I'm a private citizen, so I can say whatever I like, which is a great privilege and also very good fun. And Philip, thank you for all that you do, and I'm delighted to be here today, and I feel very humbled to be in such incredible company, and that is a very hard panel of brilliant women to follow. So I'm feeling the pressure, Nick. Yes, let's get straight into it then, shall we?
Yeah. First of all, you're out there in country Australia. Boothby is it's not really a totally woke seat. It's very ordinary people there, normal Australian people who don't have those kind of strange views that you find in those woke seats. One point I'd like to draw out first of all is that we talk about how the country tends to be going in a certain direction. Politically, it looks as if the whole country's swung to the left. I don't believe that's true. After all, this Albanese government only got 35% of the vote, which is very, very low primary vote. It seems to be out there in real Australia, if I can call it that, the values we talk about, the respect for the Crown, the respect for Christianity, the respect for the Australian value that everybody deserves equal respect, is very strong, isn't it? And just to throw in one bit, to balance what was said at the last panel, I can tell you the Australian National Anthem is sung at the Mayfield East Public School, where the school captain is Poppy Cater. When I was there earlier in the year, and I was just thrilled to see they did all those things that you'd expect in a school. So, do you think that we sometimes overestimate the extent to which we've moved away from those values?
I think the problem is we don't talk about, and we all know this is nothing revolutionary, we don't talk about our values, and particularly about the founding principles and institutions of Australia nearly enough, which is why it is just so wonderful that we are all here today doing that. And sorry, I meant to just add, we do have a National Party member here, of course, today, Lou O'Brien. So I'm a staunch Conservative and also a staunch coalitionist, which goes hand in hand. So it's not just the Libs we have represented, it's also the Nationals. So thank you, Lou, for all that you do and for being here as well. I'll answer this in a different way. So we're here to talk about Menzies, a modern monarchist. And that is the beauty, and Catherine Deves just touched on this, you know, the monarchy is over 1,000 years old, ever evolving, and that's the beauty of it, and that's also a very conservative trait to have. You can evolve. It's not usually ever going to be quickly, but for Menzies to have been Prime Minister when we had Queen Elizabeth become our monarch at the age of 27 years, and she was 28 years old when she came to Australia, really sort of drew together. So that's, you know, a young woman in a traditionally male role, was a very modern thing in itself, and yet she embodied all of the traditions and the conventions. So she sort of, I think that's how, to my mind, it really was Menzies being in that moment with a truly modern monarch, and yet continuing on with all of the values and the conventions that have provided such incredible stability to Britain and to all the Westminster democracies around the world. Now, Nick, you raised this when we were just chatting earlier. The Liberal Party, when Menzies founded the Liberal Party in 1944-45, and then revisited the We Believe statement about a decade later, the very first clause in the We Believe statement was, we believe in the Crown as an enduring embodiment of our national unity and unity of the Commonwealth. Now, it's interesting that the Liberal Party still has that same statement. It's relatively similar, but now the reference to the Crown is actually clause number 13. And I think we need to revisit that, because I think we need to bring it back to the very start. So, and in fact, clause 13 says of the Liberal Party's We Believe statement, we believe in a constitutional head of state as a symbol of unity and continuity. Now, that's not really clear enough to my mind, because constitutional head of state, to my mind, sort of leaves open that, well, does it really need to be a constitutional monarchy, or could it be a president? I'm disappointed with how loose that wording is, and I think we need to, I think this could be a project for us, Nick, look at redrafting our statement to bring it back to, why do we have this incredible country where we have the best freedoms, you know, the most respectful nation, one of the most respectful, peaceful nations in the world? It's because of our system of government, which is fundamentally linked to our constitutional monarchy. And we need to celebrate this a lot more.
We do, and I wish we had Bridie up here. She could tell us about the Constitution, where obviously the Crown is central to that too. But it is the first clause, this We Believe statement, which was published in November 1954, just coming up to the 10th anniversary of the Liberal Party, which was founded on December 20th, 1944 in Albury. So then the statement was, we believe in the Crown as the enduring embodiment of our national unity. So going back to 1954, I wasn't there then. You were, my good friend Tony and and Ray were there. Tony's often told me the story about how he learned about the death of the king when he was in school, and you must have been there for that first royal tour when I've seen the figures. A huge proportion of the Australian population got out to see the Queen and cheer her on. So you can see that in 1944, Menzies wouldn't have been in controversial ground when he said that the Crown is the enduring embodiment of our national unity. I wonder if it would be fair to make that the enduring embodiment of our national unity now, when many misguided people would balk at that completely.
Well, I think we should, well, yes, they probably would, but that's all the more reason to do it, isn't it, Nick? We like being deliberately provocative over here, the two Nicks.
We do.
I think it actually, and in fact, that original clause, I think, should go further and be clearer about why the Crown and our constitutional monarchy is so fundamental to everything, to the very existence of Australia and the functioning, the good and sound functioning of our democracy. Because the Crown, and if anyone has time, it's a short piece, can't recommend it highly enough. David First Roberts, who Nick employed at the Menzies Research Centre when you were executive director, writes beautifully. He has a short essay, if you just Google it, it's called The Crown. It's on the Menzies Research Centre's website. But David really gets to the essence of why the Crown is so important and fundamental, and I am just going to read this, and why Menzies saw it as so important to Australia, because it's the Crown Menzies saw as an impartial umpire detached from the cut and thrust of partisan politics. A modern constitutional monarchy provided the necessary space for a robust democracy to thrive and flourish without undue interference. Now, but even that's not still. I think we need to come up with some more descriptive and evocative words to explain to people why the Crown is so fundamental to everything that we take for granted. So it's the stability, it's the continuity, institutions, traditions, our values. So our Judeo-Christian principles. The separation of power, the evolution that happens in thoughtful conservative societies where things gradually change because they need to change, but not through revolution, but evolution.
Well, it comes back to civic education, doesn't it, which we don't have enough of, or nearly good quality, because these are quite difficult abstract concepts to get across. But it seems to me why the Crown is so important in our system is precisely because the Crown doesn't have total power. It has to fight for its power. Many of you, I think, would have seen that series The Crown, which got worse and worse as it went along. But I remember in one of the early episodes when Queen Elizabeth becomes Queen, that first episode, she has to fight for her corner with the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, and Private Secretary. The Queen, just because she's Queen, does not have the right to boss everybody around. Yes. She has to argue for that. She has to put herself in that position. And similarly in our constitutional monarchy is that power is spread beyond one person. And much as we've enjoyed much of what Donald Trump has done, I think, am I the only one who feels slightly uneasy the way he comes in and rules almost like some emperor or something?
Yeah. Yes, and this is again from David's essay on the Crown, tied to this. This is Menzies. So this is Menzies in a speech called The British Crown, October 1953. It is one of those strokes of genius that have come about throughout the history of our race. We still have a crown, once regarded as the enemy of democracy, and we have that crown as the central feature of democracy, as its highest instrument for self-government. Like, what a beautiful description of the evolution of the crown and the development of all of our Westminster traditions. Menzies also said, and this was quite after his retirement, January 1977, the greatest system of political government yet devised is that of responsible government under the Crown.
I had a school friend called Ian Boyce. We used to call him Bonehead. I can't remember why. But Bonehead, when I went off to study sociology at the University of Exeter, went to join the Metropolitan Police, which I thought was rather odd. But he ended up rising through the ranks and ended up as the Queen's personal bodyguard. And I'd often see pictures of the Queen and go, what's Boyce doing there? But after he left, of course, he's sworn to secrecy. He did tell me one story, though, which I think is very telling, about when he was in Scotland with the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. And he got a call from Scotland Yard, and they said, it's come to our attention that the Duke of Edinburgh does not have a gun licence. Can you take care of that for us? Yes, yes. So he intercepted Prince Philip on his way down to breakfast and said, Your Highness, Your Royal Highness, it's come to our attention at the Yard that you don't have a gun licence. I have the form here, sir, if you'd just like to sit down and sign it. And Prince Philip said, no, that won't be necessary. And Ian said, sir, it will be necessary, I have the pen. And Prince Philip duly signed, and what he's got, that to me is the story of the Crown, the ruler, the Crown, the monarchy, and the monarchy's consort are not above the law.
Yes.
And that's why it's so important, right? We don't have that in other countries, but why everything that flows from that is what makes this country and Great Britain great countries, free countries.
Yeah. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes.
No more to add.
No, I don't know, you said it too well.
Let's go to this statement, the We Believe statement. 17 points, as you say. I did check on the New South Wales Liberal website, and it has been demoted. It's no longer number one. It's been watered down. It doesn't mention the Crown. It's just a head of state. That's a mistake. And
yes,
perhaps
right.
Rachel Merton will do something about that. But if the monarchy is not the centre of public unity, what hope have we got? I mean, is it, for instance, the ABC? And I mention the ABC because John Anderson mentioned the Boyer. John Anderson mentioned the Boyer lectures, which of course named after Richard Boyer, the longest serving chairman of the ABC. In 1946, he said, "It is our hope that the national broadcaster may stand solid and serene in the middle of our national life, running no campaign, seeking to persuade no opinion, but presenting the issues fearlessly and fearlessly for the calm judgment of our people." Wouldn't it be nice if that had happened?
Precisely, and yes, but it goes to the point that Bridie made before, and the quote that I read out. You know, the monarchy is, the Crown is completely neutral, and that precisely as the ABC should be, because you are there for that stability, for that impartiality. It's your job. It is anyway. So yes, but I think the ABC is a lost cause, unfortunately. So probably the less said about that, the better, I think, Nick. But I think we do have a new project, which is to look at redrafting. Sorry, not to make this too much about the Liberal Party We Believe statement, but it's just another way of helping to remind the Australian people as to why we have the great nation and pretty good system of government that we do. And we have obviously been taking it for granted, and our friends on the left would like to radically change how it operates and have us become a republic, as we know, which we need to keep fighting against.
This point about what is at the centre of public life, what holds us together, is vitally important now, isn't it, with the level of immigration we've got. It's always important with immigrants that they can understand our institutions and understand what they're signing up to. But it seems to me that people who come from all over the world are quite happy. They love this idea. They come here because they love this country. I was in Liverpool recently, Liverpool City Council, where they have a citizenship ceremony every 2 months. and I happened to be there on Citizenship Day. Don't get there on Citizenship Day, by the way, you can't find a car parking space. But it was wonderful. They had an enormous backdrop of the Australian flag, and people were queuing up to have their photographs taken. They want to be part of this place, don't they? As our good friend Sam Cale was telling us earlier, Sam was the MP, or the candidate for Werriwa. Sam's actually a Lebanese Muslim, born as Lebanese Muslim, but loves his country, loves the monarchy, loves everything about it. He would sign up for those same values just as soon as somebody like me from the UK. I think they are universal values, and people do embrace them.
Yes, absolutely, Nick. And again, I and I hope this is a problem that we all discuss solving today, is how to better communicate those values and the importance of our institutions and our traditions and the thousand years of history that led us to this moment. I mean, it's the great...
How do we do that?
Yeah. How do we do that, Nick? How do we do that?
I'm throwing the question again.
No, I'm asking you.
Can we rescue the school curriculum?
Oh, I sincerely hope so, but first of all, we need to rescue the Liberal Party from itself, and I say that very seriously, unfortunately. Good luck, Jacinta, yes, wherever she is, amazing lady. we need you to do that for us. I did reflect on it, please, if you don't mind indulging me just for a moment. I went back to my maiden speech, which Nick Cater very kindly reviewed and edited for me at the time. And I will actually do a bit of a survey when I have some time, when I get back home to South Australia, to read, because I gave, this is quirky and a little bit obscure, but there is a convention in the federal parliament that in each new parliament, a brand new backbencher gives two brand new backbenchers give the very first speech of the opening of the parliament, and then the second. And I was given the great privilege of giving the very first speech to the new parliament in 2016. And I'm really interested to go through and survey other people's speeches and I'm just going to read two very short paragraphs because it really does summarise who I am and my values, but also why I was delighted to be here today, because I genuinely believe in our system of constitutional monarchy. So this is what I said. In a world weighed down with rules, regulations and red tape, it is an honour to move this motion and be part of these proceedings which rely on convention, tradition and precedent. This simple act reflects so much of what makes our nation great. I move this motion today having sworn my allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen, testament to the stability provided by our constitutional monarchy and the Judeo-Christian principles and traditions that have made us one of the most respected, respectful and peaceful nations on earth. I go on. This is the sort of way I would just love to see more of our state and federal parliamentarians bringing into, just helping to educate people as to what the system is, how the system works, why it's important in every way possible, not just through our school curriculums, but by using the power you have giving speeches in Parliament or to your community to tie in the bigger picture of this is how the system works and it's why it's important, and it's important because this is where our great freedoms and the respect we have for one another and the very essence of not just Australian democracy, but the British Westminster tradition, which has delivered peace and stability to so many countries around the world and incredible freedom to all of our people.
I often sort of think about what it is that makes me feel an Australian, warm about Australian, and I think it is when you meet other people and you just treat them like you treat anybody else. They're Australians. There's a sort of equality, egalitarianism amongst us. That's a central part of it. And I think it comes from that Magna Carta idea that the Queen is not above the law.
Yes.
It also comes, I think, from Christianity. Everybody is equal before God. That's part of the way we think about the world. And I've been spending a lot of time in Western Sydney where I've been very impressed with the spirit of volunteers. I'm involved with a community organisation out there. It's run by volunteers, but people who don't have much money themselves or much going, but they just turn up because they want to do something for somebody else. You were big on that when you were an MP. You used to talk about it a lot. Tell me, how do we keep that spirit going at a time when so many people are wrapped up in their own Facebook pages?
Well, a lot of people are on the Facebook pages for their community groups, so social media is not all bad. It does have some strengths, but the best thing that we can do to keep people engaged in volunteering is actually get the basics right, get cost of living under control, because when you can look after your family and you're not struggling to make ends meet, that's when you have the luxury of time to give back to your community. And yes, I'm a very staunch supporter of community groups as the actual essence of what keeps our social fabric so strong, because community groups, whether it's sport, whether it's Rotary, whether it's tree planting in your local park, you are bringing together people who wouldn't necessarily other meet one another or come across each other in life, and they have to get along, and they do tend to, and there's politics is everywhere, as we know, but you are putting people together, and it just helps with tolerance of one another, but also keeping our community, our social fabric very, very strong. So, Alexander, how much more time do we have? 5 more minutes, okay. All right, well, I would just probably finish up then by just finishing with another Robert Menzies quote about the monarchy, and this was from 1953. This one's from 1953. And he says, the present Queen, who is the most remarkable monarch since the first Elizabeth, has done so much to strengthen the position of the Crown and to inspire general respect for it that I am constantly horrified to find that some alleged intellectuals in Australia want to have a republic. I hope they fail most dismally. As do I, and that's why we're here, and that's why we will keep fighting.
That's right. With indulgence, Mr. Chairman, I might go to a quick commercial break and mention Quadrant magazine, which I'm also closely involved with. My wife, Rebecca, is the editor. Quadrant is 70 years old next year. It's a remarkable run. None of the other journals that were there at the time have had the staying power of Quadrant, more than 600 editions. We're doing something very exciting at Quadrant, or we want to once we've raised the money. Quadrant for AI. So we're in this new world now where if I want to search something on history, it'll be AI that throws up the references. So we need this Quadrant not just to be digitised, which it needs to be desperately, but digitised in a way that it can be searched. So you'll be able to go onto the Quadrant search engine and say, tell me everything that was written about why Gough Whitlam should have been sacked, or something like that. It'll throw up those articles rather than have to put in special queries. And that then makes it part of that AI environment, and when kids at school are searching history, they'll get Quadrant's perspective, which is, funny enough, you want to say conservative, but I always think of it more as a journal of intellectual dissent. So right now it tends to be on the right of politics. Last month's issue I have here, November, when covered in depth the 50th anniversary of the dismissal, the Whitlam fiasco 50 years on, and came very much to the conclusion that if you were going to fault the Governor-General for anything, it's because he didn't sack him earlier. But a very, very rounded and interesting critique. We had Tony Abbott and the Making of Australia, of course, from his book, and a review of that book from Daniel Hannan, Dan Hannan, the British Conservative. Toby Young, Charlie Kirk and the Folly of Censorship. And December's issue is just out. Trump versus the BBC, Tony Abbott, Lessons on the Liberal Leadership, The Collapse of Climate Science, Ian Plimer. Oh, yeah. Whitlam and the Cult of Renewable Energy by Nick Cater. And Freya Leach writes on how to win the millennial vote. So it's very much part of it's a very important journal. I think it's got sharper and better under the new editor, but I would say that. But please subscribe if you can, because by subscribing, you're not only getting a good bit of reading through your letterbox every month, but you're supporting Quadrant in supporting other writers, one of the important things that we insist on at Quadrant is that all contributors get paid. That nobody does this, everybody should get paid. If they'd like to volunteer and give that money back to Quadrant as a donation, they're most welcome. But it's a principle that writers should be paid, because if you actually, unless you can do that, then you won't get good voices challenging the orthodoxy, because nobody can afford to do this for free. So please, if you subscribe to Quadrant, I'll be very grateful. But on that advertising note, thank you very much for listening. Thank you so much, Nicolle, for being here. And we do hope you're going to run again in Boothby, although that's decision.
I'll hand back to Alexander. Here we go. Save this up for ourselves.